Martin Indyk, good morning. The President has gone where few other presidents have refused to go in the past. Is a two-state solution based on those 1967 borders achievable?
Well, it's the only way in which a two-state solution can be achieved. The Palestinian state, if it's to be established alongside Israel, means it's going to be based in the West Bank and of course, Gaza. It's not going to be based on the moon. And so it's going to have to be a border that is drawn up based on the line of June 4th, 67, with, as the President said, agreed swaps of territory that would enable the major Israeli settlement blocks, which are in the West Bank but adjacent to what's called the Green Line, or the 67 line, for those major settlement blocks to be absorbed into Israel. That everybody knows that that's what the deal is going to have to be. There are a few other things that have to be there too. In particular, security arrangements for Israel. Your clip was edited and didn't have that part of what the President said, and I think it's very important that viewers understand that this was very, very carefully balanced, with the borders having to be based on the line of June 4th, 67 with swaps, but that Israel's security concerns would have to be taken care of, and he specified a number of ways that would have to be taken into account by the Palestinians. So he advanced the ball on both fronts, beyond where any other president has gone.
And we'll get on to the issue facing the Palestinians regarding the recent tie-up of Hamas and Fatah shortly. But the President made those comments fully aware of the reaction from Benjamin Netanyahu, who has described a two-state solution on those 67 borders as indefensible. Is there any wriggle room between Barack Obama and Benjamin Netanyahu to proceed on a Middle East peace process based on those borders?
Well, I don't think he would like the President putting out that term of reference, the 67 lines. But I do think he would like what the President had to say about security and about the need for recognition of Israel as the homeland of the Jewish people. Those are two things which Netanyahu has made major issues of and made it clear that those are the things that he requires in order to agree to the establishment of a Palestinian state in the West Bank. So what the President has done here is tried to find a Solomonic mean between the concerns of the two parties, and therefore he's not going to please either of them. But it's necessary to, I think, put down the marker so that when they actually get back to negotiations, these issues of borders and security can be resolved first, and that is the best way to try to make progress towards resolving all the other issues.
And on the Palestinian side of the equation, is this going to have to see more pressure placed on Hamas to drop its pledge to destroy Israel?
Well, he made it very clear that you can't have a negotiation if one of the parties doesn't accept the two-state solution and wants instead a one-state solution, a Palestinian state in the place of Israel. It doesn't make any sense to have a negotiation in those circumstances. So it's a question that he basically is putting to Hamas, is whether Hamas is prepared to enter or support the entry of the Palestinian leadership into peace negotiations with the Jewish state of Israel. If they're not prepared to do that, it's very hard to see how any agreement can be reached.
Looking at the broader speech and the President taking in the uprisings we've seen in the so-called Arab Spring over recent months, do you see this, Martin Indyk, as an attempt by the administration to play catch-up? It has been criticised, as you know, from some quarters as being flat-footed as the Arab Spring unfolded.
Yeah, I think that's an unreasonable criticism. There's been some parts of the President's response which has been a little clumsy, but we're dealing with revolutionary times here. The notion that we're playing catch-up, well, the whole world's playing catch-up because everything is moving so fast, and the United States is not determining the pace or the direction. It's being determined by the Arab people in the streets of Egypt or Tunisia or Libya or Syria or Bahrain. So, I think it's simply not fair to say, well, he's just playing catch-up. But what he has done today is make very clear that the United States is on the side of democratic change in the Middle East, and that applies not just in North Africa or the heartland of the Middle East, but it also applies in the Gulf. He had some very clear and strong words to say about Bahrain, and they were aimed much more at Saudi Arabia, which has taken control of Bahrain, even though Saudi Arabia is a traditional, long-standing ally of the United States. On the question of political reform, what the President did today was, in effect, lay down a gauntlet and say to the Saudis, the status quo is unsustainable, and it's going to be a top priority of the Obama administration to advance the people of the Arab world along the path towards democracy and accountable government. And that's a very clear and strong statement, and I think it's historic in that sense.
And equally, the President had some very clear and strong words for President Assad of Syria, urging him to get out of the way of the democracy movement. But really, there's only so far the US government can go in so-called jawboning the Syrian leader.
That's true. But he's also placed new sanctions on President Assad. He's working with the Europeans to get them to do the same thing. There's moves in the Security Council to pass a resolution to condemn the actions of the Assad regime in killing so many and arresting so many others of the Syrian people. So there are a variety of things that can be done to make it absolutely clear that the United States finds this unacceptable and is in support of the Syrian people as long as their demands for change are peaceful.
Martin Indyk in Washington, thank you very much for your insights this morning.